My name is Sukhi. I'm a Sikh, if you're wondering what sort of background I come from. I'm a British born and bred Sikh. I live in Peterborough, so nice and simple, country bumpkin sort of person. My father, he came over in the 60s as an electrical engineer. He went to assist and changed, I suppose you could say, changed his own way of life. He was very comfortable in India. He didn't particularly want to come over here, but his father passed away, and he was the only son left over there. My grandfather, in other words. And he was the only son sort of left over there, and what he did is he wanted to, my grandfather's wish was to migrate the family together before he sort of passed away and wanted everybody to get together. So he moved over here. My uncle was over here in the 1940s, and he had an accolade of being the very first Asian business retailer in the 1940s, in the whole of East Anglia. I think that's pretty nice sort of thing to remember and see. I offer a lot of respect for that, because basically that was the stepping stones for my father to actually possibly look at on a daily basis and be inspired a little bit more. We should always have these mentor figures in our minds, shouldn't we? We should have them around us. Basically, if we wish and desire to fly with the eagles, we kind of could be better off sort of maybe hanging around with a few. Yeah, maybe get away from the turkeys. I want to fly, but I'm going to hang around with a flightless bird. That kind of stuff. We should kind of move ourselves away from this stuff. And he was very honoured to be surrounded by these sort of individuals who really changed his way of thinking. Now, what I did last time is I covered a host of aspects, because I believe I sort of changed the view which we were originally going to cover one particular topic at a time. But I'll give you a bit more background about myself before I start moving into things. And what I want to do today is possibly talk a bit more about how, kind of a bit of a myth bust, how negative thoughts can actually help you. It's really weird. A lot of people thinking, he's gone mental. He's gone completely doolally. How could a negative thought, which usually puts a blockage in front of you, how could that actually go forth and actually turn around and become a positive thought? Well, it depends on what signals you pick up, and we'll go through that in a moment. Background on myself. I've worked within 20 sectors, and the Honourable Ron, and I'm really, really, honestly, very, very humbled by his sort of, I suppose, build-up. But they are kind of true facts, and it took me a long time to work out or even accept that those are true facts. That I was here at the age of 21, I was a millionaire. At the age of 25, I was a multi-millionaire. By the age of 28, I kind of was clearly debt-free. I had got a lot of good things done in life, and things kind of motivated. I was very, very driven. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I was kind of very driven on that sort of level. But going forth, give a bit more background in my abilities, I suppose. I've taken seedling businesses, ideas, thoughts, but most importantly, as Ron was saying earlier on this morning, implemented them. Now, I'm being very, very sincere with everybody here. Anybody who's had a conversation with me, you'll know that it's not about the rah-rah. I'm not trying to pump you up and tell you this is what you can do, go and get off. It's exactly the same ground rules that Ron himself produces for everybody to understand. It's just real. Don't get out of all the cloud area. Get back into reality and start looking at exactly what you want in your own personal lives. What skill bases you can bring forth from the past, which Ron was talking about here. One of his clients who's charging £17,000 to mentor individuals to get the best out of themselves, from their professional background. These are wonderful stories and ideas, aren't they? How could you call upon yourself? Well, at the age of 4, I was wiring up plugs. I kind of sat there and my father showed me what a positive was and what the negative was and what the other coloured one was. It was all kind of cool. I wired this up. So for me, it was like kind of naturally nurtured into this electronics game. So electrical engineering, electronics, many, many different things. And as you can tell, I have a lot of high hope and a lot of respect for my father and my mum. They're just superb individuals. They're both polar opposites of each other. One's like, go get, let's go on, visionary, let's make it happen. And my mum is like, whoa, 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 just slow down a little bit. You might want to think about this before you do this kind of thing. So she's kind of got the brakes on that, with a sensible head. I had the good fortune of being the youngest of my siblings. So I spend a lot more time with the elders than I suppose the older ones do. Yeah, elders being my parents. So I started off with, I'll give you one story of one of my companies, which is a retailing company. It's coming from a background of being enthused by electronics. So if anybody's into electronics marketplace, you'll kind of get from company. Everybody else, just take the understanding. I started a business, an idea, and I spawned it from an original business of my father's. He had a convenience retail environment. And I thought, you know what? I don't need another office. Except what Ron was telling a minute ago. Look at your costs, reduce them. The person themselves is special. The very moment, the very second they believe they are special. And repeat that same scenario we're talking about. You are never special until you believe you are special. And that also means you're never in business until you think you're in business. So start actually acting as though you're in business from today. Not tomorrow, not the week after. Start now. Don't think about, I need £500 to get my first printing specs done before somebody takes me seriously. Go out, spend £6.90, just like Ron says, very, very clearly, as I did. And that became a business overnight, by the way. All of a sudden, I came into the car electronics game. Now, I'm kind of honoured that we started off in the very early days, in the early 90s, in the in-car electronics marketplace, where such things, I'm not sure if anyone's heard of ICE, in-car entertainment, is that kind of well known now? Guess who put the acronym together?
Well done.
Well done.
That was one of my very first companies, and it was called ICE Direct. I morphed an idea that people, because we're an importer, manufacturer, and that kind of stuff, because that's where I made my first bunch of money, from importing products from India, actually, and bringing it over to Europe and England as well. I decided that the direct bit was kind of good. We cut everybody out in the middle. There's no expenses. That meant that I could eat all of the margin until the end, and possibly even give a larger discount to the retail person, and then still enjoy a large amount of margin. So it was like a hype for me. By the way, this is well before there was a Tesco Direct, and Littlewoods Direct, and everything else Direct. We were one of the first people out there, and bought the URL, by the way, in the early days of mid-90s, before people even understood you could buy these sorts of things. We were very innovative, and this was the blessings of my older brother, who was very much into IT. Just basically bring point nexus up, you can pool ideas. Everybody needs to get together, have your mastermind, people come up with ideas, and let's make them work. Yeah. We started putting all stuff together, and I hit the marketplace with £500. In fact, I started with £50, my very first 6x9, which I bought and sold on to somebody else. And I then didn't spend the money, and I popped it straight into a pocket where I decided I'd buy 2 sets of 6x9s, and then I just kept doubling and trebling my money until I had about £500. And now anybody who's done real business kind of realizes that's kind of where a lot of businesses just start off. An idea, action, taking it through to fruition. Yeah. So just speeding up a little because I'm more concerned about giving you that negative thought positivity conversation that started a minute ago. I then grew the company. Through the 90s, we pioneered mail order. That means I sat with the banks and we usually discussed with them how they could take electronic payments over the phone, because they didn't really understand that. It was like, no, we can take it when the person comes in the shop, but we can't take it over the phone. I said, is there any reason why you can't? Oh, well, we couldn't take the responsibility. I said, what if we took the responsibility? You gave us a set of key checks that we went through, and so forth and so forth. We sat down on this level and kind of blessed that we innovated considerably and took the market by storm. And I was the UK's largest independent mail order specialist in-car electronics, collar and stuff, by 1997. 4 years. We took it by storm. I already had a background of dispatching, picking, packing, manufacturing, making things happen. Yeah? Taking things from an idea to a fruition, picking a product, boxing it, packaging it, putting an address on it, and packing it away. Yeah? So we quite easily grew very, very quickly. Something that you're going to be really looking forward to, you two guys, when you're picking and packing or even dropping the stuff. Yeah? We then carried on. Just to give you a bit more success story, in the 2000s we turned the business around and went online. I then coveted and created like a B2B platform where we help businesses to help other businesses using my leverage of stock. It was an innovative idea. I sat there one day, and to be honest with myself, I sat there looking at my stats. And I can sincerely remember sitting there going, oh my God, we've got £3.4 million worth of stock. And it's sitting there. That's money. By the way, it was not debted. It was not paid. It was all paid for. I was, where's that money going to come? Where's it gone? I could have been using it here. I could have been using it there. I'm not sure if everybody can understand. You see something, you think, oh my God, that stock could have been elsewhere. Well, literally, that's what I decided to do. I thought, okay, I can sit here and be miserable about it, or I can turn around and think, actually, this might be a little trigger. Maybe my unconscious mind is trying to tell me to do something about this. Maybe I could use more, I could return more. Does that make sense? So I actually went out and started creating a network, a dealer network, which is in the in-car electronics area, where we actually sit there and actually discussed a way of everybody who's a retailer, one-man band, utilising my buying power, using my stock in my warehouse, so we can pick and dispatch for them. Nowadays, you call it drop shipping. So we went out of our way and changed and pioneered that market as well. Now I'm concerned with my timing, because I don't like overrunning. This is a very, very dedicated timeline here. So if you want to talk to me about my past in the past, we actually grew that company, became the 6th largest in the country. I then sold off divisions of it. Very recently when I went through an illness, which was a very close near-death experience, which to be honest with myself, kind of changed my outlook. Now I'm here standing on this because of evidence. I stood away and I was 2.5 hours away from not being here, and I had hepatitis A, to be honest, it's all open. I got to a situation where I decided, why have I actually come out? What is this all about? Do I need to stand up and try and help possibly change other people's lives? Maybe I should be sharing this. I was 31 years old and achieved all I wanted to achieve, well in advance of my age. How could I change this marketplace for everybody else? So I thought, now, that's why you see me standing here with the blessings of my elders, Ron, and many in this room, who actually turned around and came and said, listen, you can do this, come and stand and talk to people. So I stand here and I try to change lives. Going back to that thought of negativity being positivity. Anybody interested in knowing how it could work?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll leave at least a thought on it. Well, let's just put it this way. I looked at my balance sheet. The first thing I looked at is £3.4 million. That was kind of a negative thought. I went, oh my God, what the hell's happening here? It wasn't. Could it be possible that my unconscious mind was just sending me a little blip in the signal? Just a quick tap on the back and saying, by the way, just have a think about that for a moment. There's £3.4 million. Could you be decent with it? Are you actually really utilising your actual capacity to your best ability? And this could also be happening along the lines of you walking down the street and saying, do you know what, I just don't understand, I don't enjoy my business. I don't actually enjoy my job. It could be an unconscious signal, could it not? To say, pay attention. Yeah? The only difference between taking a bad logic and a bad negative thought and actually turning it into a positive is your choice, isn't it? Yeah? But it could be just a little trigger. So just to speed up and say, it's just a little trigger saying, hi, by the way, have a little think about this. That's a nice way of thinking about a negative thought, isn't it? It's actually a primal instinct. Think about it this way. Let's just imagine ourselves in the jungle very, very quickly. And you're singing along, humming along, doing your own business. The next thing you know, all of a sudden there's deadly silence. Everybody around you is deadly silence. Now, survival technique tells us that if there's deadly silence, there's a predator. There's a predator in the environment, yes? So we pick this up as a negative, sort of like a point, to, like a little highlight, saying, hang on, it's a trigger, there's silence here. Now we can do one of two things with a negative emotion, can't we? We can either ignore it and pretend it's going to go away. So there could be a tiger in a jungle around the environment, a kind of a predator. I could just be ignoring it, walking across, carry on humming and singing on my own way. Yeah? But what am I likely to encounter? Probably the tiger. Yeah. So does that kind of resolve a few things? Let me help a bit more. I'm ignoring it now. I come face to face with the tiger. What do you think is going to happen? Pretty much is going to have a meal of me if he or she actually, I'm not sexist. He or she has a decision that they want to turn around and basically have a meal. Then the next thing I'm gone is I'm over. That was a signal that was sent to me well in advance of me coming in face-to-face contact with the tiger. Yes, this is kind of a little primeval survival technique, hardwired. Now, on the same token, all of these little negative things that come up in the mind frame, we can make sense of them if we look into what they're trying to point out to us. I get a pain in my leg, I can't walk today, so I'm going to be in bed. What exactly is it trying to attend? Pay attention to your leg. The pains are only ever brought up to the surface for you to be paying attention to, if there's something worth paying attention to. When you unconsciously look at the sheet and you pick out a particular line that says £3.4 million, you might think, hang on, that's good. I've got that messed up. But on the same time, you might turn around and take an opinion and say, that's not very good. I'm sitting there with dead stock. I need to move this over quickly. Thank you. I need to move this quickly. So then you can take action. Yeah? Implement a project, an authoritative mindset that says, this is something that I need to face now, before I face the tiger and it sits there and attacks me. If all of a sudden I listen to the fact that this was an alarm bell that came across and said, the silence of the jungle is pointing out to me there might be a predator in the environment, I could have turned and said, aha, I better stop singing, shut up and walk out the other way. Go completely the opposite way or stand still. Yeah? And maybe I'll be overlooked. Does that make sense? Now, does that sort of take a bit more of an energy off negativity? When something's triggering you, you can then turn around and ignore it, and then one day it's going to hit you straight in the face, just like the tiger, standing there, waiting to make a meal of you. So, if you're asking me, I'm always offering take the action. Now, I'm running out of time, and I'd like to tell you a bit more, but if I do not like what I have today, it's a very, very simple thing. This is a Tony Robbins quote. If I do not like what I have today, if I do not like the results I have today, it's badly paraphrased, so do apologize. I do not enjoy or like what I have today, what actually have I done to achieve it? Because we're constantly doing something that's going to give us an outcome of today, isn't it? And if we want to change the outcome of today, all we've got to see is how we achieved it. So go back and have a look at how you spun things through. The processes you took to get to this place of not happiness. If it meant that you ignored the loved ones, kind of cool. Maybe you could write that down and say, actually, I ignored the loved ones, hence why I'm sitting on my own now. Maybe I spent too much, now I'm broke. Maybe I didn't bother implementing my ideas, that's why I'm not doing it. Hope that changed a few things in my life. Hopefully. So, I'm running out of time. My apologies. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm running on his deadline here, but please take the time out and have a talk to me in between as well.
Well done.
Thank you.